Yes, yes, yes. What is up, General Strike Podcast family? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day out there. A lot to get into on today's show, of course. I will be breaking down my thoughts on the Fred Hampton movie, Judas and the Black Messiah, its accuracies and inaccuracies, and my overall thoughts on the movies. Because I think we can separate, overall thoughts on the movie itself as a product of entertainment and whether or not it lives up to the legacy of Fred Hampton as well. There might be separate points there. Plus, I will be talking about the protests in Haiti that have been going on for years now and have been recently ramping up due to the president of Haiti, Moise, not stepping down from office. A lot to get into there. Myanmar coup. Should have talked about it on the last show, but just ran out of time, so I'll dive into that one as well. News over in Kurdistan in relations to Turkey, so I'll have to delve into that one as well. One of the few anarchist states or societies that we have right now, so I have to obviously delve into that one. And obviously in the fun half, I'll play some PragerU and Gravel Institute videos and react to them. But obviously, let's get into the life and legacy of Fred Hampton and whether or not this movie did it justice. I mean, Judas and the Black Messiah, starring Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield. I mean, what to say about this movie? Off the top, I think you should watch this movie. For one, us on the left don't get many adaptations of leftist revolutionaries. It's not common. So to get an adaptation of this level, I think we should pay attention to it, to dissect it for its value. It's going to be a part of the pop culture zeitgeist more so now because it's a Hollywood film. Fred Hampton's life has been now and legacy has been exposed to a wider audience because of this film. And what does this film tell about that legacy to this wider audience? I think it's very important for us on the left to understand how entertainment can be utilized against us and for us in terms of a movement. But in just quick remarks of the movie and its quality, I want to say that the music, the editing were top notch. I want to say the acting, obviously the two lead stars, Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield, were pretty unbelievable, even for, in my opinion, a lack of substance in the script. And I will get to that in a bit. And Jesse Plemons. I mean, Jesse Plemons is always good in anything he does, right? Though usually he's like great in the bad guy role. I don't think they let him go full out like sociopathic bad guy like we've seen like Breaking Bad and other forms of entertainment from him. And again, that's a criticism I'll get to in a second. But overall, I want to say that this movie, especially in comparison and juxtaposition with last year's big leftist movie, which was the Chicago 7 trial movie with Sacha Baron Cohen and the like, obviously detailing the Chicago 7+1, Bobby Seale, obviously, that trial, and obviously from the riots of the DNC convention in 1968. And I enjoyed that movie as well, though that movie is very different than this one. Okay, this movie is trying to be more of a substantive film. It's trying to be more accurate to the source material, the legacy of these people and this movement. While the Chicago 7 trial was more of a movie of entertainment, more of a movie of enjoyment, it was taking something that was a very iconic moment, not only in U.S. history, but obviously in radical leftist history as well, and trying to make it an entertaining Hollywood film. This is not that. Obviously, it is entertainment to a degree because it's a film, but this is trying to be a serious, suspenseful movie at times. Because we all know what happens. We all know that Fred Hampton does get assassinated by the Chicago police with the help of the FBI. We know the end of this movie. So at the whole time, there's this sense of dread that it's going for, a sense of seriousness that's going for. And I'll give it credit for that it does try to be a legitimate, serious film on a very serious very serious story and history, and not just being a fun movie. And again, to juxtapose it with the Chicago 7 trial movie, a movie that largely ignored the true radicalism of Abby Hoffman and others in that group as well. This at least would say, and quote, very iconic and memorable lines from Fred Hampton's sort of speeches that were explicitly anti-capital, explicitly pro-socialism, pro-communism. There's mentions of Mao in this. Like, they go farther into connecting it to its real ideological roots and history that other movies don't. So I'll give it credit for that. I think it deserves credit for that. But for my criticisms to the movie, and the criticisms I've seen sort of be the consensus, one, that this movie, by its nature, centers the story on William O'Neill. Okay. The informant, the FBI informant that gave the information to the pigs that led to the assassination of Fred Hampton. And I understand that as a stylistic choice. I think in some fashion, if we were to get another movie of Fred Hampton in 10 years down the line, maybe it's not a big deal when that one pays more attention to his life, but this one didn't. And there are massive moments in Fred Hampton's life, legacy, that are basically montages in this film. The Rainbow Coalition and the forming of that montage. Okay. The entire beginning of the movie is just montage of famous speeches, and then it never really goes back into the ideologies those speeches are really talking about. It flirts with the substance. This movie does. It flirts with the substance of radical ideologies, but doesn't really dive in because the movie is not centered on that. It's centered on this cop drama, this thriller suspense movie, this mafia movie in a sense, obviously transferred to the Black Panthers of Fred Hampton. And it can't get away from that style. It can't get out of its own way. And so moments that should feel more impactful, moments that are truly the events that created the Fred Hampton legacy and allowed him to be such a leader to the Black Power movement. And those moments are done away with very, very quickly. His bringing together of Chicago gangs under peace agreements. I mean, it's one scene with one individual gang. It's not a brokered peace treaty with multiple gangs. Like, it doesn't go into the full extent of what that moment was. The bringing together of the Young Patriots and Young Lords were, again, a montage. I want to love this movie because Fred Hampton is such an inspiring person. And he's not someone I agree with all the time either. I really recommend people to go read, okay, not just watch. Go read his speeches in their entirety. Go on Marxist.org and read them, okay? Because the type of radicalism and substance that he has in his speeches and in his actions and the events and movements he was able to bring together, you only can really see that still by watching him and reading from him. Watching this movie doesn't give that implication of why he's so special, why his legacy, what he did in Chicago, was so unique and so radically revolutionary and dangerous to the capitalistic status quo. Again, it flirts with that, but quickly goes off to, William O'Neill and FBI agent Mitchell, right? With Jesse Plemons' character. I forget his first name. Where is it at? Roy Mitchell. It consistently wants to center the story on that suspenseful aspect instead of focusing on why this person is so so beloved and has become such an icon to the left. In particular scenes I want to call out here. And spoilers if you haven't seen it. Maybe I should have said that at the very top, of course. Certain scenes that give me issues that I think personify this fashion. Roy Mitchell, Jesse Plemons' character in this movie. And one of the reasons why I don't think this is his best acting role, because the script was very bare for him, or I should say, did him a poor service, because there was numerous scenes, one with J. Edgar Hoover, where he asked Jesse Plemons' character, FBI agent Mitchell, what would he do if his daughter brought a black guy home and she was dating him, and then an implication that Mitchell's career would be ruined, or something something malicious might happen to him and his family from Hoover. Like moments of Mitchell bringing up his FBI record, going after the Klan in the South. It's all moments where it decenters the radical ideologies and history of Fred Hampton to, let's talk about the FBI in this cop drama. And let's humanize these people. Let's make them more three-dimensional characters. And you don't see that much with Fred Hampton. That's another thing I have an issue with. Like, Daniel Kaluuya, I think, knocks out of the park in terms of his not impersonation of Fred Hampton. I don't think that's the right way to phrase it. But his portrayal of Fred Hampton, I think, is a really great job, especially for somebody that is not an American English speaker. He's English from the UK English speaker. So you have that accent difference. And Fred Hampton has a very, very almost unique Midwestern Chicago accent in a way. And again, it's a very iconic voice. And to get that in any way is really impressive. But his arc is non-existent. We see him, he's already a radical. We see him at the end, he's a radical. In between, there's maybe one scene that tries to humanize him with Deborah Johnson, played by Dominique Fishback, who also did a great job as well. And how she says, like, oh, I didn't know you were shy. And it's a very poor attempt to add some three-dimensional character to Fred Hampton. And Fred Hampton is a unique individual. Like I said, read his speeches, because the guy has some thoughts that I don't agree with. His thoughts on Kwame Ture, I think, are pretty out there, pretty extreme. But there's a lot of angles you can look at with any human being, and they only looked at one angle with him. And I found that to be poor. I found it, again, there's a lot of style to this movie, but it lacked a certain amount of substance. And overall, I think the scenes that personify that the most is the forming of the Rainbow Coalition. A group that was so radical, okay, that it made Fred Hampton enemy number one for the FBI and the U.S. government. Okay. He brought together working class groups of all ethnicities and races for the sole purpose of a social revolution, a socialist revolution, and a militant revolution. So people, I think, often want to skip that part, but it's Samo in the chat, shout out to Samo, good friend of the show, saying Dana pulls an excellent American accent. No, he does. Again, he does an amazing job. Honestly, I think Lakeith Stanfield nails down the William O'Neill impression portrayal probably better. And that's probably just due to like the easiness of U.S. born speaker copying a U.S. accent. Like it, and it's far easier. And also like William O'Neill's like speech patterns and like tone and everything like that If you watch him in the documentary, what's the name of the documentary? Eyes on the Prize, too. I think it's the name of the documentary. That obviously you see the clip after the movie of. While Fred Hampton was a very like eccentric, loud speaker, it's a very unique one. It's very hard to do that. Daniel Kaluuya I think he got nominated for a Golden Globe already for it. I think the Golden Globe is like 2 weeks. It totally makes sense. Like he should be nominated. I don't know if he wins because again, the movie doesn't feel like it's really on him. It feels like it's on Roy Mitchell and William O'Neill and that dynamic, which is an interesting dynamic. I mean, I think there's an element to it, like I said at the very top, that I can understand this stylistic choice on how to frame the movie. It makes sense. But it does such a disservice to Fred Hampton's legacy and the actions he did, because again, the Rainbow Coalition was a montage. The Young Patriots, who I thought, I'll be honest, I think they did a really bad job portraying them in the movie. I think they try to show them as extra Southern and extra angry, and it was odd. That one scene where Fred Hampton and the Panthers go to the meeting with the Young Patriots, which isn't really what happened. I'll play a clip of the meeting that happened between Bobby Lee and the preacher man, Bill, I forget his last name. And that's a fascinating moment in history. It's two groups that nowadays are so far apart in having solidarity. Sam O saying, was he really nominated for his best supporting actor? Hold on. It is, yeah. Damn. See, like that's like the perfect. Thank you, Sam, for mentioning that, because I must have just glossed over the supporting part. But the movie that you're adapting someone's legacy from, he's the supporting actor. It's classified as that. Sam O saying, I wish it were about 3 hours, like Spike Lee's adaptation of Malcolm X. I need to see Malcolm X again. I haven't seen that movie in years, and it's such a great movie. It's a long movie, though. Then my mom watched that like the other week. Yeah, she called me and was like, I'm watching this movie. It's the Malcolm X movie. It's really good. And she was like, did all this really happen? I'm like, yeah, kind of. I mean, the most of that movie is just lifted from his autobiography. So that's why that movie is so fantastic, because Spike Lee, to his credit, who I think has done a fantastic job of portraying subtly, because obviously Malcolm X is an overt black liberation movie, but throughout his career, Spike Lee has been subtly throwing out black liberation, black power themes throughout his movies, and I think Hollywood needs that, of course. But with Fred Hampton, you don't have that book. You don't have that giant ass book that he wrote himself to explain his life. I think that did them a disservice as well, in terms of like having to produce this movie, because you're piecing it from a lot of different parts, a lot of different eyewitnesses accounts. It's more difficult to make a Fred Hampton movie. I will give him that. I will give him that sort of pass. But again, it's the Fred Hampton movie, and he is not the lead actor. How is that possible? Sam Sanders just watched it during the BLM movement in June. Totally an epic movie. It is. And it's one of those. It's a 3.5 hour movie, and that gives it its time to really say the whole life of this guy. And it's radical revolutionary. Like people's entire lives are, it's hard to cram that into 2 hours, especially when they're not the lead actor. They're not the focus of the movie. But quickly, let's hold on. Before I say anything more, I should have said this from the very, very top. They have met their goal. Okay. So it's good news. But when I first scheduled the show, they had not met their goal. But the Hampton house, obviously the childhood home of Fred Hampton, There's a GoFundMe to save it. It's obviously created by his son, Fred Hampton Jr., who I recommend people checking out. He does a lot of great work with like prison reform and prison abolition work. But anyways, yes, go support. Even though they passed, go send another $1. Like, why not? Why not? Like, they deserve it. But anyways, let's get to this part right here. Where am I at? All right, I'm gonna play this clip from, or I should say, I'm gonna play part of this documentary. The documentary is called American Revolution 2. It was made in 1969. So it's actually before Fred Hampton died. I want to say this movie came out. And it's like really rough shots here. Okay. So I'm sorry for that. But it's quality in terms of just seeing it for your own eyes. And the crazy part is, like, this is what I talk about with the whole montages. In the beginning of the movie, there's a clip they take from this meeting, but they never go in depth on what this meeting was between Bobby Lee and the Young Patriots, which I want to say was an accident, if I remember my research correctly, that the meeting between Bobby Lee, who was one of the higher ups in the organization. In the movie, he was the guy with the glasses often, with the afro, very skinny guy. Didn't get a lot of speaking lines, to be honest. It was not a focus of the movie at all, even though there's a great Jacobin article about him I recommend people to go check out. Digressing. The meeting, I want to say, happened accidentally. That Bobby Lee and the Young Patriots double booked a venue to speak at. And instead of like having a fight about it, I forget who decided how they came to it, but they both decided to share that time. And that's how we had the first sort of community meeting between the Black Panthers and the Young Patriots. It wasn't Fred Hampton marching up. It was kind of by accident. And I think that's to me, that's a more intriguing part of history than this montage clip of Fred Hampton just marching with his squad up to like every group and like forming Voltron. To me, that lacks substance. That's just not. It's not good filmmaking. It's not good storytelling to me. But anyways, rest in peace to Bobby Lee too, because he passed away just a few years ago. So I just wanted to make note of that. But let's play this clip. Hold on. I'll make sure it's right. StreamYard always has that weird issue. Sam was saying, have I seen the Oliver Stone movie of Nixon? No, I have not. I haven't seen the JFK one either. I want to see the JFK one. I haven't seen those. I don't know if you were at the beginning, Sam, but I talked about I'm going to do movie reviews like bi-weekly, like separate from politics. The first one's coming out this week. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll give the hint that there's a continuation of this movie series, in a sense, coming out soon this year. That's a blockbuster. And I'm reviewing one of the movies in this series. And it was a fantastic movie, and I can't wait to review it. But digressing, back to this meeting between Bobby Lee and the Young Patriots. There's two different meetings, and it kind of goes from one to the other. So I'll play it. And I'm only playing about 20 minutes of this documentary. And there's a whole scene of them at like a party, like the entire Young Patriots group at like someone's house, drinking, smoking, hanging out. And there's this debate about how to deal with the bourgeoisie. And it's fascinating. I'm not going to play that part. I want you to go watch it yourselves, because the whole documentary is great. Half of it's kind of on the Chicago DNC riots that led to the trial of the Chicago 7. So if you're curious on that, I recommend that as well. But yeah, American Revolution 2, 1969 is when this documentary came out. Let's play this clip from it. I hope I don't get any copyrights from this. That's my only concern. I've like two things I want to play, and I'm semi-concerned about copyrights.
I say is that their problems are your problems too, lady. Would you guys consider organizing one Black Panther March? Well, hell yeah.
You talk about no exploitation from whites, blacks, or anybody. All right, I'm going to ask you straight out. What other than capitalism, what we have here? You're going to have, you can say, well, okay, you know, that's a fair profit, that's fine. Where do you draw the line?
Panthers of the vanguard, man. We're talking about tearing shit down from the bottom, starting from the bottom, going up. A non-capitalistic state. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about revolution. You know, people get hung on like panthers of self-defense. You know, that's had war. We're talking about war, guerrilla war, urban guerrilla war. It's going to be tried. We're not talking about trying to, you know, we've been trying all these things you've been talking about, man. You know, no good. For these brothers' sake, it's no good. Helping these guys is all very nice, but it's also a lot of liberal bullshit. You've just played the great liberal game of being very interested in what's going on someplace else. I am tired, man, of every time people saying to me, we are nothing but goddamn white middle class son of a bitches, no good. So wait a minute, we are ready to do action now, if there is action now. A lot of you guys have got a lot of talk and knocking us, fine. And I think we've got a lot to learn. But if there's anybody who feels that in any way that they have been pushed by police, we will do what we can, action now, by going to see Brax personally, if necessary to arrange a march, if necessary to put it in Royco's column. Now what else can you do aside from shoot the cop? Now if you've got a program or an answer other than criticism, tell us.
This is poor people's power. And that's what this little hand-painted button's all about that we've been passing around to people. People that want to take over and have a government for themselves, that they'll be treated right. That's what it's all about. I want to introduce a man that's come over tonight from another part of town, but he's fighting for some of the same causes we're fighting for, and start the meeting off. So I'm going to introduce you to Bob Lee here and let him rap a little while. Bob.
I'm a Black Panther. I'm a section leader of Black Panther. This is Parley. He's a security man. This is Sister Ruby. We met with Junebug and his brothers last Wednesday night, last week, at the Church of Three Crosses, where we both had a chance to rally, get together. Panthers are here. Panthers are here. For Uptown. Okay? For anyone who lives in Uptown. Brown, green, yellow, purple, or pink. But I'm saying Panthers are here, and you have to tell us what we can do and what we can do together. We come here with our hearts open, you cats supervise us, where we can be of help to you.
One thing we're going to have to do is put our heads together and figure out where we can help Uptown, help the people in Uptown.
Right.
And the thing is that I want everybody who's got any questions at all to speak them up and say them now.
Who's here as concerned people? Who's here that want to see this thing move?
Yeah, man.
Right on. Well, the first thing we talk about now is how we're going to organize. You know, where are we going to organize? We almost right now, man, figure out like what we want. You know, what do we want? What do you want? What do you want, man? What do you want in your community? What do you want here?
Look here, man.
Don't lay back on the cuts, man, and you know, like you're not moving, man. Are you afraid of you want to take berets off, man, or what, man?
You propose that you do a lot of marching and things like
No,
that?
sir. No, sir.
Marching seems to do more harm than do good.
No, sir. No marching. No, sir. The thing we're about is that this is your community. This is your community. Let's move. You know, and we can't move without you. We can't move. We can't move without the people.
Like on the west side and south side, you have a basic unity to start with.
For the skin color.
Right.
Okay, but then the thing we got to deal with is concept of poverty, man. We got to do race color thing. See, I mean, concept of the same thing. There's welfare up here, people on welfare up here, there's people who receive ABC, you know, there's police brutality up here, there's rats and roaches, there's poverty up here. That's the first thing that we can unite on. That's the common thing we have, man. And we can unite on poverty, and unite on the concept of poverty, you know, everything becomes colored, man.
Right on. Building's not fit for dogs to live in, but humans having to pay $144 a month, right? They sold the building, you know, to new ownership. What we need is understanding among the people.
Right on.
Coalition between the people to stick together.
Right on.
And take them owners and put them over here in the lake somewhere.
Right on. Right on. This man right here. You know, the things he said, these are the things we can start working on. We can start working on those very things. Get rid of the Urban Progress Center. Get the cats to get themselves together. Get rid of these little junkie employment agencies. The cats don't. I mean, these are the things you can start working from, man. These are the things you can start working from. Maybe stand up and tell us something the hell you've been going through. I did something.
Show me my granddaughter, Morris, unless she wants to
Please, stand up.
Tell them what they're doing to Eddie out there. When we come out and how they talk to your mother and how they jumped on us down. Come on, don't be bashful. I talk too much. You all got to talk. Now's the time to talk.
You don't want your kid to be raised up the jive you're coming through now. You want to.
I can't tell.
You got to do something. You can't have only one or two leaders.
Please, stand up. Just stand up.
You got to have the people doing something.
Can you do it?
Come on.
My sister-in-law, she came up and said that the cops were out there fritzing my brother, and we went out there, and there was one of them cops were sticking a knife in my brother behind, just sticking him. I went up and I asked him what he was doing. He said, it's none of your business. He told me to get out of there. Asked me who I was, and I said I was his sister. He told me to get the hell out of there.
Well, she was cussing the cops out like mad. She's been getting on.
Call up the police when nothing's going on, and the police are going to come and make it happen. They try to put your words in your mouth, make you put yourself in jail.
But I want you people to stick together, and I'll stick with Black Panther, and they'll stick with me, and I know they will.
We're going to do it our own way, and that's all there is to it.
Right on, your own way.
I saw a Black Panthers movie last week. That points are real good. You got to pick up your gun, that's all.
Right on.
Oh, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of them coming down the street and kicking my damn head in for them. Nothing I ain't done.
Bobby Hutton gave his life, man. The cat was 18 years old. He gave his life. And from that day on, Panthers moved up for the black community are concerned. From that day on, Panthers moved up because black communities knew and felt what Huey was saying, but Huey went out and did for the people, what the people wanted to do for the last 15, 20 years. He did to the pig what Roger would like to do. Nobody's saying that, hey, we're not saying go out and off the pig, go out and start shooting the pigs. You know, but this way Huey did it. And because of that, I'm sure that one of these brothers are capable of doing it.
We're going to stop this shit one way or the other if we have to fight with guns.
Before you can do that, got to be some discipline. I'm reacting to what you say you want to do. Okay, the first thing is discipline, man, before you can even control the pig, but you're off you, man. From here, you start out going into the community so the community know, man, what you're doing. Because see, if the pig off you, Roger, and you be going to the funeral, man, you've been in the casket, and the people in the community don't even know you're dead. You got to have the community back. The pigs, the police are protecting the landlords. If Roger run out with a Molotov cocktail to throw in one of these rat-infested buildings, they kill it. They kill it. They kill it. Somebody answer why? Why the man come down on us like that? Why?
Protecting people and about protecting property.
Right. Right. You been in jail for, baby? You been in jail? Right on. So I'll tell you nothing but pig. Once you realize, man, that your house is funky with rats and roaches, you know, same way a black dude's house is, you know, once you realize that your brother's been brutalized by the cop, the same way the west side and south side is, you know, once you realize, man, that you're getting inadequate, man, education in these high schools, junior high schools over here, the same way the south side and the west side, you know, once you realize that you are paying taxes for the cops to whoop your ass, you're paying them.
You're paying them, man, but they whoop your ass. You're paying them to come in to beat your children. You're paying them to run you off the corners. And you're paying them to kill you. You deal from there. The same thing happened on the south side and the west side. And you can realize that concept of poverty, the concept of poverty, a revolution can begin.
Now, Wednesday, model cities is meeting, and they're going to put through some kind of program, and, you know, we're all going to get run out of here eventually. Now, I put a proposal together that people that want to be together, people listening to this stuff and digging it, and people that's got it in their hearts that want to be together, be up here Wednesday. We go down and we stop that meeting.
All through the city, there's $38 million supposed to be split up to bring poor people out of poverty.
What the hell have they bought? What have they done? Not a damn thing.
These goddamn people that own businesses here in Uptown are sitting down, and we can't sit on those consoles. We can't tell where the money ought to go. Damn it, we ought to go down there and stop them and piss on the money and do the neighborhood right. If we can't do it, they ought to do it.
Wednesday will be for confronting the model cities.
And you better be together because the pigs are in here right now and they know what we're going to do, you did. When you do it right, but don't do it at all. We done something with them. Yep, and now we're trying to get on board. We'll get over that.
Now, like, think about that meeting and the level of intelligence on display there from working class people and how they're portrayed in the movie. Or even the interaction between them. Right? Like, there was some people that were obviously a little bit had some hesitation to the Black Panthers. You can see it a little bit, especially in the first one, right? The first meeting they had. But the class solidarity, the class consciousness that they possess, that they automatically know that the fight that they have is a shared fight, a shared class struggle. And yet, that wasn't at all displayed in the movie. You know? It's just, it bugs me. Like, that part really bugs me. Same with the Young Lords. Like, the Young Lords, who I want to say are still around and are still a pretty influential group in Chicago, especially, fighting for Puerto Rican rights and independence. Okay. They were originally like a organized crime group that went political and became a legit group. And they faced mass persecution from the cops. And like, it alludes to that, right? Like, you see the first meeting, you don't really see them ever talk. You see them just look at each other. Fred Hampton with the Black Panthers and the Young Lords. They're at a funeral procession for somebody in the Young Lords that died. I think it was Manuel Ramos. But you don't ever get any interaction with these groups, really, where they're sitting down talking about these ideologies. I would have rather, I'll be honest, there's a few times here where the movie tries to have violence and entertainment, and I would have much rather preferred 2 hours of them talking. Just these meetings, basically, that we just watched, but on movie form in HD. And give me, another 20 minutes of action, and I'll be good. Like, give me actual substance. Because flair and awesome cinematography and awesome editing and music isn't real substance. It's style. You need both. And when the history that you're adapting is such a richly filled, substantive historical moment and movement, for you not to be able to like accurately transfer that to the movies, to me, is probably why this movie knocks down a few levels for me. I give it a lot of praise for its attempt to be serious, its attempt to adapt radical revolutionaries more accurately than we've seen just recently as well, like the Chicago 7 movie. but again, it misses the mark. And it's not surprising. It's Hollywood. It's going to miss the mark. Yeah. All I had to say about it. Definitely go watch that documentary, American Revolution 2. Let me get the URL in the chat. Hold on, as it's not wanting to be helpful. Come on. Come on. There we go. Goddamn computer. There's the full documentary if you want to watch. I put it on the YouTube live chat. Anyways. Let me see. Did I ever pull up that video I wanted to pull up? Let me see. I don't think I did. Probably next week I'm going to play a documentary from the Black Panther documentary. I'll probably play that next week. I can't seem to find it for some reason. It's bothering me. Anyways, moving on from that. Again, if you want to hear any more of my thoughts on Fred Hampton, I one of the first ever podcasts we did was on Fred Hampton, so check that out as well. It's highly, highly important to recognize and to contextualize the radical history we had in the 60s and 70s. It's very important. Even the 50s, too. Well, if you want to go back to the progressive era, the whole, like, 20th century up until the 70s or so were a very radical time. And you saw a brief resurgence of that with, let's say, like, the anti-nuclear proliferation movement in, like, the late 80s, the anti-war movement in the early 2000s, and obviously everything past 2007 has been a complete resurgence, in my opinion, of our radical roots in the early 20th century. We haven't reached like true like 1912, 1908, like those types of elections with the Socialist Party or the general strikes with Eugene Debs. Like we haven't reached that level yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Apparently, the video I played of Fred Hampton in the very beginning didn't have audio, or it wasn't playing the audio. I think that was probably my fault. I apologize. I'm going to play it again, if that's okay with everyone.
I'm the deputy chairman of the state of Illinois Black Panther Party, Fred Hampton. And a lot of people don't understand the Black Panther Party's relationship with white mother country radicals. A lot of people don't even understand that word that Elvis uses a lot. But what we're saying is that there are white people in the mother country that are for the same types of things that we are for stimulating revolution in the mother country. And we said that we work with anybody and form coalition with anybody that has revolution on their mind. We're not a racist organization because we understand that racism is an excuse used for capitalism. And we know that racism is a byproduct of capitalism. Everything would be all right if everything was put back in the hands of the people. And we're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people. Everybody in the state of Illinois is going to have to be involved or even around the revolution because we're going to have one. We're going to have to do more than talk. We're going to have to do more than listen. We're going to even have to do more than learn. We're going to have to start practicing, and that's very hard. We're going to have to start learning, and you learn through practice. We got to start making mistakes, and you learn through making mistakes. We got to start getting out there with the people. And a lot of times we think we're better than the people, but that's an insult, and that's criminal. Think you're better than the people. We got to get together and learn where it's at. It's going to take a lot of hard work. Education for children is something else. You ought to dig on it. Every sister in this audience. Every sister in this audience ought to get themselves together and come on down and help us with that Education for Children program. You ought to come down and help feed them children in the morning. We have breakfast for children because we teach the people through practice, through observation and participation, that people can be fed free. That's the people's thing. Socialism is the people. You're afraid of yourself. If you're afraid of socialism, you're afraid of yourself. We know they have our pictures. We know they're looking for us. We know they want us. But we're still saying that even though we could be in a sense, as far as this system goes, on the mountaintop, we in the Black Panther Party, because of our dedication and understanding what's in the valley, knowing that the people in the valley, knowing that we originally came from the valley, knowing that our flag is the same flag as the people in the valley, knowing that our enemy is on the mountaintop, our friends are in the valley, we say even though it's nice to be on the mountaintop, we're going back to the valley. I be in the office every day. I be in the streets propagandizing every day. I be working with everybody every day. I be teaching that solidarity is the thing. The end of a complete wipeout of imperialism is the thing. So if you're going to be thinking about me, that's what Bobby would be teaching. If you're going to be thinking about us, all we say is ain't no thing about going nowhere, getting killed. All we want to know is that you're doing what we'd be doing if we were here. And you got to do that. You can't do it unless you believe that you can do it. In the spirit of liberation, we understand that they want everybody in the party in jail. And we know that if we try to figure out and separate and divide who should go and who shouldn't go, we spend more time doing that than working for the people. So the quick solution, the speedy one, nobody go. Nobody go. We all stay right here. With the people. Because we love the people. Okay, you put your hands down now. We say all power to all people. We say white power to white people. Brown power to brown people. Yellow power to yellow people. Black power to black people. X power to those that we left out. We say Panther power to the Vanguard Party. When you leave here saying the last word, before you go to bed, and say I am a revolutionary, make that the last word. In case you don't wake up, then somebody might believe it and you might, end up in what they call a revolutionary happy hunting ground. Say that. I am a revolutionary. Say it when you're going out. Everybody has to leave. Okay, we're going to say it while we're going out. And we're going to start a thing called Free Friends. Don't that sound nice? Hey, let's do that. Free Friends. Free Friends. Free Friends. Free Friends. Hey, I ain't even in jail yet.
Yeah. The movie could have been so much better. So sad. So sad how it's just a missed opportunity. But anyways, I'm not going to dwell on that because I did enjoy the movie for what it was. I'm not saying the movie was complete shit and you shouldn't watch it. Just go in there understanding that you should be critical of what you're taking in, what information you're taking in. And always counter that with like his actual words. Which reminds me, I was going to play this and not play this. I was going to read some of this and I will. Once it loads up. Here we go. Let me read two parts of two different speeches from Fred Hampton. You find them on Marxist.org. There's only like 4 of them. Sorry, 5. Math is hard. And they're not long. Like they're speeches. They're not long books. But if you want a more complete understanding of his thoughts, his beliefs, I recommend checking out his speeches. I really do. I'm going to read this excerpt from You Can Murder a Liberator, but You Can't Murder Liberation. Here we go. Make sure I get the parts right. It was Huey P. Newton who taught us how the people learn. You learn by participation. And Huey P. Newton started out, what did he do? He got a gun, and he got Bobby, and Bobby got a gun. They had a problem in the community, by the way, it's Bobby Seale he's talking about, because people were being run over. Kids were being run over at a certain intersection. What did the people do? People went down to the government to redress their grievances, and the government told them to go to hell. I'm not going to put no stoplights down there until we see fit. What did Huey P. Newton do? Did he go out and tell people about the laws and write letters and try to propagandize them all the time? No. Some of that's good, but the mass of the people don't read. That's what I heard Huey say. They learn through observation and participation. Did he just say this? No. So what did he do? He got him a shotgun, he got Bobby, and he got him a hammer and went down to the corner. He gave Bobby the shotgun and told him if any pig motherfuckers come by, blow his motherfucking brains out. What did he do? He went to the corner, nailed up a stop sign. No more accidents, no more trouble. And then he went back. Another situation like that. What did the people do? They looked at it. They observed. They didn't get a chance to participate in it. Next time, what did they do? Some kind of problem came up. The people got their shotguns, got their 9mm, got their hammers. How'd they learn? They learned by observation and participation. They learned one thing. When there is fire, you gather around the fire. Huey got a shotgun, and everyone gathered around him and Bobby. They saw what was going on, and they had a chance to participate in it. As the vanguard leader, he taught the people about the power structure, led the people down the correct road of revolution. What are we doing? I highly recommend reading the rest of it as well. Let me read the other interview, or not interview, I keep saying interview, speech. Let me try to get the right part too, because I think this one's a little bit deeper in. This speech from It's a Class Struggle, God damn it. Read this one. Read this one. Like, if you're going to read any of them, read these two. They're, I mean, truly, truly something else. Okay. And we understand, I'm reading right here, by the way. I'm going to, I think, just read these two, or these three paragraphs. And we understand, a lot of people have hangups with the party because the party talks about a class struggle. And people that have those hangups are opportunists and cowards, individualists, and everything that's anything but revolutionary. And they use these things as an excuse to justify, to alibi, to bonify their lack of participation in the real revolutionary struggle. So they say, well, I can't dig the Panther Party because the Panthers, they are engrossed with dealing with oppressor country radicals or white people or honkies, or what have you. They said these are some of the excuses that I use to negate really why I'm not in the class struggle. We got a lot of answers for those people. First of all, we say primarily that the priority of this struggle is class. That Marx and Lenin, Che Guevara, and Mao Zedong, and anybody else has ever said or knew or participated in anything about revolution always said that revolution is a class struggle. There is one class, the oppressed, those other class, the oppressor. And it's got to be a universal fact. Those that don't admit to that are those that don't want to get involved in a revolution, because they know that as long as they're dealing with a race thing, they'll never be involved in a revolution. They can talk about numbers, they can hang you up in many, many ways, but as soon as you start talking about class, then you got to start talking about some guns, and that's what the party had to do. Again, I recommend people check out all of these speeches. They're quite powerful. And again, you have elements of these speeches that you can hear some lines in that the screenwriters for the movie took, but the real substance of it was lost in translation. I think that's the best way to describe it. Anyways, guys.